All right, great to see you guys after 2 weeks. Welcome everyone to live stream 124 what are we now? 124 for July 6th to the 12th, 1917. Start off with Tolemykus's quote, and then we'll go into saying hello to everyone. And I'm really glad you picked this because, oh boy, we're going to be talking about this, well, some related bits to the Third Battle of Ypres. Tolemykus mentions, when the barrage began, it was as if hell itself had opened. General von Kuhl, Chief of Staff of the German Army Group, early stages of the upcoming Third Battle of Ypres. Can you let Tolemykus, if you do know, I don't know, is it the Germans that are starting this off, this bit, or is it is he referring to their barrage or the Allied barrage? I'd love to know. Anyways, let's go through the people quick. Super great to see you, Charles Latora. Awesome to see you, Hissy Cat. Obviously, Tolemykus, Meandering Mike, great to see you. Oh my God, Harro Bosma, how the hell are you here? I thought you were still in Italy or whatever. Great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Hope you're doing well. And Gamers of Coffee, Ashley, hope you're doing super great. And I hopefully do get to talk to, we'll mention your partner in crime there, Greg, about 1914 and the initial setup bits. Hopefully we'll get to that. Regardless, if we don't, I will be communicating with him later on. Great as well to see you, Corvinus Wargaming. So anyways, let's get into sharing the thingamajig. Let's see if I can do this one. I got to get rid of this. Hold on. Boink. It did it again. It drives me nuts when it does this. Hold on. And now it's all new. I don't like this new, all these stupid little icons. Anyways, StreamYard's giving me another reason to get rid of them, aren't they? Besides their ridiculous expense. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of your thing here. Hold on here for a second. Make this. I want, no, I want that one there. I want this. Jesus, why does it keep doing this? You're irritant. Okay, I'm going to get rid of you. Hold on here. I'll remove you from the studio. I'm going to try this again. We're going to try this again. Try this again. For the love of God, get in there. Yes, you're there. All right. So I'm just getting to the bottom of the quotes. All right. So here we are. Like I said, please welcome everybody. Please let me know what you're doing. Oh, Tolemykus, what did you say? Excellent. Thanks a lot. Opening phase of the British artillery preparation for the Third Battle of Ypres, also known as Passchendaele. Yes, thanks, man. Which began building in mid-July 1917. And holy smokes, what a sweetheart of a day. I'm glad that just before I went on today, I was like, oh, let's go watch the Indian Idol the week that was again. But I was like, I'm a week behind, so I jumped ahead. And thank goodness I did, because you're just about to find out what happened. But probably a lot of you guys already know. Oh, great, William Arends. Awesome to see you. But you're an exhausted contributor running on empty, just happy to be here. Well, I've got your the last submission that you sent to me queued up. So anyways, I didn't record it because it was a small piece, so I will just insert it into the live stream, and hopefully we'll go from there. Oh, thanks, Tolemykus, that it's a quote from the Western Front Association's website, because are we going to be going there later? I don't know. We'll find out in a bit. But anyways, welcome everybody. Like I said, catch up on what you've been up to this week. I'd love to know. Live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. There's a ton. And here's the biggie. At least for me it is. Mustard gas. Oh, I know, that's right. I forgot about doing this. Hold on. Let me get this. I'm just going to try to make it. Oh, did I do that again? No, I did it the right way. Okay. Hold on here. I just want to make sure. I know that if I make it, adjust the screen size, it makes you guys make it much bigger. See? It's not big on my screen, but it's big for you guys. And I'd rather have you guys having the giant thing than me, if that makes any sense. But I want to get rid of the background stuff so it doesn't get me. So anyways, I'm watching the second bit this week, and I found out that today, of all days, July 12th, 1917, mustard gas was first used. And I didn't realize, because we're going to go to it very quickly. I will go this off to the side, but it was so early to find out that it was so early to find out. I didn't know, like I said, so early towards the start of the show about mustard gas. I was like, okay, let's go off to the side and find out a little bit. hold on here. I got to get into the, I want to get to the, just very quickly, because I had no idea about so much about mustard gas. For me, for example, I thought phosgene gas was the worst of the bunch, but it kind of sounds like maybe it was mustard gas. But anyways, so I just wanted to pop this in quickly, and then we can go back and we'll go into the other stuff. Hold on here. Stop. Yeah, I really don't like the way they're doing. Oh, and stop by where the Archduke was shot. Oh my God, that must. Oh, cool. You lucky little devil. Right on, Corvinus Wargaming. Did you take a picture of it? I mean, why not? Why the hell not? I would. Anyways, hold on here. There we go. And I want you guys to see this, and I'll get rid of me. So this is the little bit. Yeah, I can make it a little bit. Hold on here. I want to make sure that I can, so you guys can see that. So anyway, I don't have this in the link yet, but it was just a little bit of, and there it is. In July 1917, on the eve of the Third Battle of Ypres, the Germans introduced 2 new chemical weapons. I do find this kind of creepy, though, that they used crosses to differentiate the different types of bombs. Like green cross, I think, was for phosgene and stuff like this, or no, it was something a little off to the side here. It mentions here something like that. Oh, the Livens projector. Darn it! Where do we know that? I've heard that thing before. If you guys know anything about it, I'd love to know. There it is. All the combatants used color-coded markings on their shells, and the Germans used the system to simplify the complex varieties. I just find it creepy that they would use crosses, though. But anyways, it's got this beautiful little thing, a little schematic here to take a look and whatnot. It's called a Latin Bridge. It is nice. Oh yeah, it does. I've seen some pictures, like modern day whatever. So I know you can do tours, Corvinus Wargaming of that area and whatnot. It looks beautiful. But anyways, it was also, what did I want to find out about? It was interesting to find out that the blue cross ones were actually this gas here. It says that it was used to try to disrupt the air filters and then go in with something else, which I find amazing. There, I'm just going to pop this in here. So I'm not going to read everything you think, but I want other people to see what it's used. So there it is. The first use of blue cross, that was on July 10th. That's that stuff that for the respirator stuff. I'll put this in the links later on if you want to take a look, but this looks awesome. And here's this thing, because there's an actual episode from Indy Nidell's The Great War, that the war that was there or whatever, is actually called Operation Beach Party. And I was like, what in the world? So, which I find rather neat. So there we go. So we're gonna, I'll stop that for a second, and then we're gonna go back to, yeah, this is driving me up this tree. I'm telling you one thing, guys, you guys are not, there we go, doing your Wheaties very well. Hold on, is this the one I want? Yes. All right. So like I said, another thing. So yet again, maybe in 2 weeks from now, I wanted to do a little bit of it this week, but I just didn't get around to it. We're starting to look a little bit more into Alsace-Lorraine and why there is such a hate on, like, I don't know any of the background of like about Alsace-Lorraine and whatnot. Interesting stuff, but I'm still trying to collate all the information. But some of this stuff that I did find out about is, what is the Zabern affair all about? Hold on, let's see if I can go find out the links quickly. But if you guys know anything about the Zabern affair, I'd love. Do I have it? Nope, I don't have it listed, so we're not going to go to it. We'll just go on to other stuff. Anyways, and also later on, I was also finding about, I guess this happened later on in the war, I'm not really sure. But these were 2 battles, I think, that happened in the Vosges, which is also part of Alsace-Lorraine, I think. And these are the two battles. I'm not even going to try to pronounce those. But anyways, if you guys know of any games that you've noticed seeing those, I'd love to know about them. Spanish Flu Watch. I'm still, like I said, looking at articles to see if I can find any indications of. They're not going to call it that yet, as we know. But is there any indications that we can start seeing that way? I was just wondering about this morning too. Is thinking about, because there was an amazing attack that occurred in the Golden Horn region. Probably Corvinus Wargaming knows quite a bit about that area. It's somewhere around Constantinople. And the British attacked Turkish and German ships that were stationed, or probably just all Turkish. But they actually, the Germans were actually using one of the converted liner or something as their base of operations, which I thought was totally cool. Anyways, I'm going to pop in Tolemykus's thing. Boink. And it says, as Chief of Staff to General Crown Prince Ruprecht of Bavaria von Kuhl was in a position to witness and report the psychological and tactical effects of the bombardment on German troops. Awesome, cool. I know, Charles Latora, it was so neat to see you. I had a good laugh in one of your videos there when you were talking about the SPI game Chariot. I'll pop on your thing. It's just there's so many people popping on quotes here. I'd like to pop them on the screen, but maybe I'll just say your thing out here that you are playing Chariot. I thought it was funny because you were mentioning one of the things about something about there's no retreat or something. I'm like, yeah, I don't remember hearing very many stories of chariots retreating in very good fashion. So I thought that was pretty funny to hear. But anyways, I'm curious if you guys wonder if bombs away was the first the first time it was ever used, or was that something that occurred in the Second World War. I have no idea. And then Tolemykus says the Zabern affair, also known as the Savern affair, was a major political and military scandal in Imperial Germany in 1913, just before the outbreak of the First World War. And I don't have a flipping clue about it, and I certainly wanted to know about it. Don Dalwitz and the Iron Broom. I think this has got something yet again to do something with Alsace-Lorraine and maybe the Germanization of that area after they'd taken it from the Franco-Prussian War in 1871 or whatever. I have no idea. Oh, darn it. Where the hell is Brian R. Smith? What does the word cocarde mean in French? I think it is a French word. Anyways, the first true convoy from America to Europe occurred potentially this week, which I thought was kind of neat to find out. Remember, a lot of this is from the articles that I'm getting from. Like I said, Indian Idel and his take on the German ultimatums. Oh, you guys can't really. Yes, you can. Now, why I put this in here, he mentions, and at first I agreed with him, and I was like, wait a minute, let's hold on here for a second. He mentions that the fact that like Ludendorff and as we know, Ludendorff and what's his diddle there, Hindenburg, threatened often to resign or whatever, if they didn't get their way or whatever, and the Kaiser caved in. And Indian Idel mentions that. He goes, imagine if they had tried that in France or in Great Britain, and he's like, that would never fly. They would have just turfed the generals and replaced them because they had a different political psyche, a different way of looking at things. And I was like, wow, this is an interesting, different way of looking at it. I'm going to bring this up and talk to you guys about this, which I am. But then on the second note, I remember earlier on with General Neville, when he went to the French government and said, look, if you guys don't go ahead with my freaking offensive there, as far as I know, remember, fact checker, I'm not an historian, I just like this stuff, is that he said, look, if you guys don't go with my offensive and whatnot, I'm quitting. And I think it was President Ribot, I do believe, or Premier, I don't know, mentioned he was afraid their government was going to collapse again and went with it. So just saying, maybe it's not whatever. Anyways, it looks like the Greek troops will be fighting for the Allies on the Macedonian front. Hold on, I like to do these things. Rioting reported in Germany. Oh my God! Speak of the devil, fantastic. Hi from Steamy Montreal. A bit late, but glad to be here now. I am too, because I'm going to ask you a question here. Brian R. Smith, what does the French word cocarde mean? If you know, I would love to hear about it. And Tolemykus keeps on throwing some more stuff on, which is fantastic. Anyways, you probably would know a bit more than William Arends, because you've got your finger on the German newspapers and whatnot. But they were mentioning in the English newspapers that there's been rioting reported in Germany going on. I just thought this was an interesting term that was mentioned in the newspapers or the war summary this week. Ding dong fighting. I was like, whoa, what a neat way of doing it. Yet again, Belgian armored cars are mentioned aiding the Russians in Galicia. I just find that really, really cool. And they also mentioned that Russian warships or Russian ships were trying to get rid of mined areas in the rivers around Riga. And I was wondering, is this like Russian monitors and whatnot? Yet again, gaming potential. I just keep thinking of gaming potential. Great to see your wardrobe plays World War II. Hope you're doing well. And the Russians are retreating to the Persian border despite recent gains. I remember we're going to see this a little later on not right now, but the Armenians and whatnot are going to freak out when the Russians are leaving, like they'll leave them high and dry. But this is after, I mean, obviously after the Kerensky offensive collapses and they get the whole freaking revolution. And I guess the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. I have no idea when that's happening, but it's going to happen. It's going to have to happen soon. So if you guys know, I'd love to know. Over 2.2 million British troops right now are fighting on the Western Front, and that's just the Western Front. And just the British troops. Holy smokes. We're not even probably talking about the logistical support. Whoa, that just blows me up. When they remember, they keep mentioning every time a division, just a division, they're saying every time a division relocates, that's like moving an entire town. It just blows me away. Oh, Briner Smith, thank you. It's a colored badge, fabric or painted, representing a country, army, or organized group. Thank you so much, man. Anyways, due to the harsh criticism, and we're going to see this, of the German air raids, big changes are expected for Britain's air defense right now. They're actually having a secret session. And when I went to go look up the secret session, I wanted to see if I could find out some information on the secret session. I couldn't, but then I went off. It's not because it's secret, obviously, anymore. But I went off to go and take a look at, hey, why not? Let's go take a look at some photos of the air, of the damage that all those air raids have been happening. But we are going to see some big changes. We've already been seeing a lot of talk in the headlines of going, what the hell's going on? And then yet again, a lot of them saying, hey, bring the airplanes, keep the airplanes in England, please, flying around London and protect us. And I can't remember who the hell it is, but somebody said, oh, Lloyd George. Said, no, the Army comes first. Douglas Haig gets his airplanes. Thank you very much. French shock troops, pioneers, and flamethrowers were used in recent fighting. I don't know anything about these shock troops, so I'd love to know about them. That Muscovite cavalry was mentioned. I just thought that was an interesting way of putting it. There's an upcoming Allied conference in Paris to discuss the possibility of abandoning the Macedonian campaign. I think we were mentioning this a long time ago. I'd seen this in the Great War, whatever, from Indy Nandel mentioning, they were saying that essentially the Macedonian campaign or whatever, all the British there, it ends up becoming like the biggest, largest labor camp in a wacky, weird way. It's just it's just all that potential. Anyways, shush. There was a big air raid. I think we're just mentioning that. A big air raid on Turkish and German targets in the Golden Horn in Constantinople. Heavy fighting along the Belgian coast with Germans reportedly making gains. And let's go to the article picture super quick. I swear to God, we will get to the other stuff. It's just this, well, it's been 2 weeks. What the hell? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff to talk about, for goodness sakes. But we'll do the best we can. All right. So let's hold on. Let's get to the 24. How am I going to do this? Yeah, let's go to here first. We got so much flipping stuff, it's nuts. But maybe we'll just go zip super quick through the articles. And I'm going to stop this bit here. Share the screen. Window. Where are you? I'm going to find you. Because it looks like a picture. I mean, it looks like text. Oh, cool. Thank you. The Golden Horn is the ancient core of Istanbul, Constantinople, where the Ottoman palaces are. Thank you so much. And you can see that. And I'm going to leave myself on there as well. I'm just going to go super quick here. I just wanted to take you guys what's been going on here. A new censorship plan in the United States. Yet again, like I said, I just find all this stuff fascinating. As well, I'm starting to know, I don't know. I'm maybe connecting dots that shouldn't be connected. But I'm just saying, we now have the Americans now in the war. That means the Allies are now allowing the Associated Press as part of their little censor stream. And I've noticed already there's a hell of a lot more Associated Press articles appearing. I've also noticed that the war summaries are contracting significantly compared to the beginning of the war. So there is someone out there or someone over the time going, you know what, let's control the message. They're getting better at it is what I think. Anyways, war against news leakage. There we go. Another strike order dealing with the leakage of information has been issued to Canadians and speaks of criminal folly of individuals who communicate to relatives and friends in Canada information believing the same. That's, I find, how the hell are they getting, I don't know about you guys, but I just don't understand how they're getting their information out quicker than the news, because we're finding out from newspapers within a day or two of battles. It's mind-boggling. Coal crisis is serious in the United States. At first, I was talking to Meandering Mike about this last week, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You guys got tons of coal. You guys are like all over the place with coal. But it's actually not about coal. It's about your railway capacity right now is extremely constrained. So that was it. Oops, that's we'll get to her in a minute. We'll get to her in a minute. There's the thing in the Golden Horn area. No, it isn't. Nope, this was, yes, this is this guy, Mr. Galois. I don't know if we're ever going to take a look at that, but they did some an amazing work here, they were saying. There he is, Galois, too old for French army. But he was young enough to work havoc at the crop plants with the French armies in the field. There'd be more illustration in the military of France's territorials. Men originally discarded for active military service because of their age. Then Sergeant Galois, who bombed Essen, called from his store at the start of the war. Galois was mobilized into the dragoons and given charge of a hospital for sick horses. He was dissatisfied. He wanted a more belligerent job, so he pleaded for a chance to enter the aviation corps. And boy, are they ever happy he did, because he did some awesome jobs. And hold on here, I think something's screwed up. So let me go into the see where we're at here. So we're at there, Galois, Holland suicide. I haven't looked at that yet. This is something I would love to read about. Yet again, I think this has got something to do with. Putting the pressure on the neutrals. In some ways. Remember, we were looking at some of the articles every time. They're always like, every time there was something going on with the Netherlands, they were like, well, I just love this type of stuff. What did you say? Great War is part of the first conflict with mass print media and the mechanisms for governments to control press more. I know Corvinus Wargaming. It's amazing to see. Remember, even at the beginning, where we see all those amazing photos, because every soldier and their dog was going to the front with their cameras and stuff. It blew me away that I didn't even know they had cameras that could do that back then. And after that, I don't know when that started, but they're like, no. You can't start sending pictures to your loved ones about Lord knows what's going on. A Hun editor derides the Stockholm program. Boy, yet again, William Arends said, that's right up your alley. At least I want to get more into this for sure. Is the socialist aspect with Germany and the Stockholm Conference and so on and so forth. But they're putting a lot of things on this. Actually, we haven't gotten to the trivia question yet, but we're going to get there soon enough. Britain revives the old jet industry. What the hell is jet? At first, when I saw this, I was like, what? Are they talking about jet engines? This is insane. But it's there must be some material that's called jet. You guys must know about it. I don't. But it says manufacture of jet ornaments. So I don't know what in the world that stuff is. London papers demand change. There it is about the reprisals and whatnot, about what to do with the London air raids. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Corvinus Wargaming. Anyways, and here they're just talking about making sure, don't go screwing around. And Foe uses mail to help plots. Bundle of letters arriving from the central. Just as you guys know. Oh, thanks. Tolemykus is verifying what you're saying there. Bundle of letters. As you know, I love this espionage twist to it thing. What I did find is it this one? Not the July 6th one. Oh, okay, that's a bit late. No, not really. Germany's pretense for bombing Dover. I just thought this was rather here. It says Bruce indignation to the air attacks on the fortress of London. Says that if England wishes to spare her civilians, she can remove them from the neighborhood of store places of war equipment. And I'm also mentioning that to the fact it's really interesting. I get you now. I get you, Tolemykus. What I find also neat was I was talking about this with Meandering Mike last week, because for my game there, I wanted to see if I could get Zeppelins at 10,000 feet to bomb the living dickens out of the English Channel sea routes. So we were looking at what the distance, what a Zeppelin would see. And it's ridiculously high. It's like, I couldn't even imagine trying this. So I'm like, okay, maybe like we were saying, maybe it was like, okay, Christopher, if I was, the German tactical, whatever, you go back sharpening the pencils. We'll deal with the grand strategy. But Meandering Mike brought this up, which I thought was rather interesting based on this, was because we were talking, remember, that were the British and the French actually making sure they weren't targeting civilian areas when they went to do any reprisals or when they were going after, and it certainly does look like the French were going after munitions dumps and so on and so forth. But Meandering Mike did mention, he's like, when you get to a certain height or whatever, and maybe I'm not saying they were at 10,000 feet because they're using airplanes, so they can go a much lower distance. But you're still there's going to be collateral damage. People are going to, so you're still hitting civilian areas. I thought, okay, good to remember. May not be premeditated, but you're still doing that. So I thought it was a nice way of putting it. Russian sharpshooters. I went to try to find out if I could find out the 12th and 13th divisions of sharpshooters. I could not find them yet, and that's really, I'm rather surprised because I've got some really, really good sources for the Russian military and for the Great War. It's all in Russian, but who cares nowadays? So you can just hit the translate button. But anyways, it looks like which refused to obey orders were surrounded by detachments of cavalry and artillery. God, this sounds like that maniac from South Korea. And Thursday in the village of Zhukov, which was twice shelled with shrapnel. Later, the cavalry charged and 500 of the sharpshooters surrendered and were disarmed. Jesus Christ. And here we go. German spy system in a fresh light. Talks about 3 arrests and use of mail as higher powered wireless. And we're going to look at that later on. I think. Oh, thanks. Isn't that interesting? We had just been talking about coal as well. Thanks very much, Meandering Mike. This is, I just wanted to use a different way of showing some of the articles. So anyways, here's an article, a picture this week that was in the newspaper about how they feel about reprisals in England. Show of hands at the meeting held in Trafalgar Square on the June 15th indicates the unanimity with which the people of London view the matter of reprisals for air raids and the killing of women and children, non-combatants. 27 minutes in, we're nowhere near what the hell. I just really enjoyed this article because when I saw the headline, I was thinking, well, no kidding, this girl's hysterical. If she saw Michael Jackson back in 1917, I would be hysterical as well. I'm just being whatever. But I thought that was rather neat. Okay, so let's go and share the screen again. There, boink, boink, boink. Okay, let's go to Edith Wharton. We don't have to go because I'd rather do some other stuff. The Tolemykus engagement question of the week. How did cavalry tactics change during World War I as trench warfare became dominant? And like I said, he's given us a slew of questions, which is awesome. Okay, let's go to WNN's World War I day by day from the British perspective. I just got to, find the thingamajig. Hold on here. I'm activating all kinds of things accidentally. Here we go. Did I put in WNN here? Yes, I did. Thank goodness gracious. All right. So we did see the yellow cross. Goody. Okay, so I don't have to show you that. And stop. Boink, 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 boink. Get rid of me. And then we'll go to the latest one, July 12th.
World War I day by day. From the British perspective, July 12, 1915. Gallipoli campaign, a force of 7,500 soldiers from the 155th and 157th Brigades of the British 52nd Division attacked the centre of the line along Achi Baba Nulla on the peninsula. The assault gained very little ground and resulted in 2,500 casualties, along with 600 from the Royal Naval Division and 800 men from a supporting French unit. The Ottoman Empire had 9,000 casualties and 600 prisoners. British residency at Bushire in Persia, attacked by Tangistani tribesmen. World War I day by day.
Cool. Thanks, man. And isn't that so weird? I just love this because it's like 2 years in the past for us. And I'm like, here they are in Gallipoli. It's like, oh my gosh, that's just so nuts. Okay, let's go to a little bit. Why not for the reprisals? And I'll make sure that we go to, we'll go and take a look at, oh yeah, I can just share the screen. Just a very quickly, super duper ultra quick. I'm just going to look, we'll go down and take a look at the pictures. Darn it. let's see if I can make it. If I go crazy, there. That way you guys can just see the, well, yeah, we'll just go this way. I just wanted you guys to see some of the pictures, just some of the damage to kind of get an idea of these air raids back then. There's one really cool one coming up. At least I thought it was. And I know the area because I've been there. It's freaky weird. It was like, oh my God. Sorry if I'm going too quick. It's just I want to get a lot of stuff done. But I don't know. Like I don't know if you guys noticed, but many times I'm finding the newspapers. Certainly, I can understand why, but they certainly do minimize it. I don't get the feeling of when I see the pictures. I'm like, okay, this is a lot of damage. Once I see the one I know of the street, I'll go, okay. I think we're getting close. I mean, this is a, Jesus, Murphy. I can see why people were scared to death and were like, screw this, bring the planes back. And you want to, I don't care what anybody says at this point in time, if you're saying it didn't work for morale or whatever, it certainly does seem to be causing a lot of hysteria. Where are you? I just thought, wow, it almost looks like a good luck charm. We're almost there. We got to be almost there. Jesus, Murphy. Look at that. No. Holy Moses. Oh my God. Now I'm getting obsessed. There it is. This is the one. And it looks like it made it, eh? What? All right. I shot. No, it isn't where I thought it was. Okay, so it isn't. I don't know. Well, it must be along the Thames, but it's not. It's not what I thought. The one I know of is way, way smaller than that. All right, hold on here. Let me get to what we should be looking at. Let's do some trivia, for goodness sakes. How's that? Boink. Which is next. Awesome. And there we are. Look at the points. We're getting pretty. There's what I find, there's a lot of neat little whatevers going on here. You know what I mean? We've got a nice little fight going on between Charles Latora and William Arends. A little bit here, a little bit there. This three-way at the down there. I like that. All right, hold on here. Let me get to the banners. I'm gonna put in your first clue. And anybody new around, you remember you just get a point just even for guessing, for goodness sakes. I usually go very general and then try to slow her down. So, and hold on here. I want to make sure I go to the trivia questions and get the first question or the first clue. So I can put it in the comments as well. All right. Kerplunk. I certainly have been in the news recently. Who or what am I? And then we can go back to taking a look at this. Community contributions. Harro Bosma, and he's oh, you're back, Harro Bosma. Anyways, yeah, you gave us 3 links, and specifically that you had mentioned the Battle of Caporetto was really enjoyable, and because of that, I was like, I got to make sure that we bring it up because, as you know, we've got somebody who loves the Italian front, loves Italians, Charles Latora. So Tolemykus says potus, and you're going to get a point for that. And I'm going to, but you are incorrect. And Gamers of Coffee Ashley is going to say air bombing. I like that one because of what's going on, but you are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. And Brian R. Smith says tariffs, and you're going to get a point as well. And Harro Bosma says, yes, I listened to this before sleeping. And well, let's go take, I think I've got the, did I put your, no, darn it, I didn't have them in here. I thought I did. But anyways, hold on. What am I saying? I can just go to my thing and the jig. Hold on here. I want to make sure that you, and I'll get you your second clue. I've been around probably since the 13th century. So odds are it's not. Charles Latora says U.S. Army. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Hold on. So yeah, Charles Latora. Harro Bosma says that the Caporetto one's really good. You really enjoyed it. So let's go take a quickie look. Hold on here. And Tolemykus says bandages. You're going to get a point. And hold on, sorry, I forgot to put it in the comments as well. So I've been around probably since the 13th century. What am I? For sure. All right, and then Harro Bosma's got the Caporetto one. Make sure I go to the YouTube one. And it's monster. 3 hours. Gamers of Coffee Ashley says guns. You're going to get a point. Hold on. I like that one, actually. That's a it's a pretty smart move. Hold on here. I'm going to want you guys to, we're going to not get in. I'm going to stop this again. We're going to go to here. Share the screen. So that way we can see. Ooh, William Arends says the Tsar in Russia. You're going to get a point, William Arends. But you are incorrect. But hold on here. Got to make sure you get your point. And then I want to put this in so you guys can see it. And make sure that's boink. There. That looks, I love that shot. But I'll make sure, oh, hold on. I'll get rid of the banner so you guys can see the, no, I didn't. I thought it was going to show it here. And I'll put in your next clue. But anyways, Charles Latora, if you're interested, I'll put this in the sources and links thing, or if you can take a look at where it's that. But anyways, I'm going to get you your next clue. I was first named in honor of the king's son. What am I? And I'll put that in the comments. The Prussian stare. Ooh, cool. William Arends, you're going to get a point. I'll give you an extra. Well, I can't do that because you're so close to other people. But I like it. Hold on. I'm going to make sure that I boink. And then I can stop the screen. Get rid of that. Get back to me for a second. Boink. Did I put it in the comments? William Arends, holy cow, you're going mental. You're going to get another point, but you were incorrect. Moscow. Holy Moses. Okay, let me get out of here for a second so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Share the screen. Boink, boink. You guys are back there. Boink. All right. So yeah, anyways, we got there. Oh, and then we can go to the video of the week, but let's keep on trucking here with the whatevers. Did I put in the comments? Yep, I did. Now I'm going to give you your fourth clue. This one, just saying. Oh, brother. Here's your next clue. Brother, I am amazed. I'm glad I didn't give you an extra point, William Arends, because you're just rattling off the clues, man. William Arends, you're going to get another point for Berlin, but you are incorrect. Hold on, and I'll put the next one in the banner since I did put it in the comments. Boy, have people loved spelling and pronouncing my name differently, and I mean that with a capital L. What am I? And Tolemykus says Leo. Oh, that's a nice one. Oh, I love you to bits for that. Jeez. But you're going to get a point. And it's not British soldiers. I thought it was American soldiers that were firing from their trench during the gas attack. We're only at 20 minutes left, and we'll see where we go. It's not a big whatever. I don't think we are going to get to the William Arends. Oh my lifting! Did you ever blow this out of the world? You got it, man. Lambert, well done, William Arends. Holy smokes, you're never going to jump ahead. This is awesome. And we'll go. We'll do the remainder of the clues. Well done, man. I love it. Hold on here. I'm going to get your thing here and the next clues. And here are a couple of pictures of me with one showing my high castle. And hold on, I'm going to get to the screen so I can show you the nice little pictures. I hope. Nice wine, William Arends. And there's, I'll get rid of me entirely. Boink. Leopolis. There's High Castle. Hold on, there we go. Nice little thing. And then the picture of High Castle. And I was taken by the Russians. That would have been your last clue. I was taken by the Russians in 1914 and retaken by the Austro-Hungarians in 1915. And now the Russians are trying to take me again. As we know, this week they just took Halis, and they're super close to encircling Lemberg, I guess. Let's go to this. So we've done all this. Where did I put you, though? Now, why in the world do I? Okay, let's. I should have done. Hold on here. Oh no, I gotta share the screen. How about we just go through it very quickly, and then I'm gonna, because we got 19 minutes, but because I want to show some of these things. We are hopefully the National World War I Museum and Memorial Exhibitions. They've got some beauties. Hold on here. I don't know if I popped it in the. Oh, I did. Okay, goody. I just want you guys to see these. There's some sweethearts. Oh my God, there's tons of comments I didn't notice. Lemberg, Saskatchewan. Is there really one? Wouldn't that be wild? William Arends says, I know geography better than my history. Oh, I was having a hot pepper crisis. Did you get some in your eyeballs, or is it just, yeah, I see where Tolemykus is going with this. I'm just assuming, hopefully it was just your eyes, whatever. Oh, really? Neato. Okay, so hold on here. Let me get to the thing. Yeah, it certainly has enough different ways of pronouncing it and spelling it, doesn't it? Holy smokes, it's nuts. So let's go to here. Kind of wanted you guys to see the all the wonderful exhibits, and some of them. Oh, brother, really? Yeah, brother. I heard that's why a lot of places that have spicy whatevers also have yogurt and whatnot, or the sherbet. So maybe that's something what you're talking about, Tolemykus, about using the ice cream on hand. Cry me a river, Charles Latora. God, you sound like Marie Antoinette of gaming or something, for goodness sakes. Jesus. Whoa. Okay, so I think we were going down this. Oh, yes, it's gelato. That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, there we go. All right. So anyways, I wanted you guys to see some of this. Of course, some of you lucky devils like Gamers with Coffee Ashley, and I think maybe World War One plays Wardrobe plays World War II. I think possibly even could get to this area to Kansas City relatively easily. But you can see that there's some that are here, but there's a lot you're going to see that, which I did find interesting as well. It's called the Wiley Gallery. And I noticed that Not Jay constantly mentions the fact he's always at Wiley Games or something about that. But you're going to see here, there's some that are online. We can go to there. It's, yes, Boink. That's it. Exactly why I think they say bring the yogurt and all that stuff to try to, or milk. I've even heard it supposedly can, the worst thing to do is take water, from what I heard. I guess it really then dilutes it and spreads it around. But you can see some of these are where are the online ones? There's Charmed Soldiers. We saw that one a long time ago, remember? And then this one would be interesting to see. This is the one I would like to go and take a look at again. But look at this one. Oh, an online. Oh my gosh, that'd be kind of neat. Let's go to the next one quickly. So look at this. There's an awful lot of online tour stuff here that you can find out about. Don't you think? That'd be kind of neat. Anyways, that's that. Then we'll go to another one. We still got 15 minutes. Doing not too bad, I think, kind of. Oh, gotta get rid of you. Get me the other links. Okay, let's just take a look quick. I'm just gonna pop in some funky stuff and let's go for it. Okay, you guys could see this. So this is just a book. I wish I could read Russian. Oh yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna leave you guys are going on your own little world here, and I'm gonna get sidetracked. But I love popping your stuff on here. Is what I'm doing. But I know that I can hear Meandering Mike in the back of my mind going, Chris, you don't leave comments on too long enough, so I just won't do it at all. Anyways, I found this book, but it's written by her, and it's this general, that Russian general that seemed to have had an interesting little career. But I just thought I would like to pick this up and maybe get it or find a translated version, because I think it would be fascinating to find out from somebody else. No, you don't, Meandering Mike. It's just me being as per usual. No. You're no. It's me. It's all me. Trust me. Actually, you know what? Okay, we're good. I want to do a little bit of your ATA, the Arends translation attrition, and yet again, I'm not picking on you, Meandering Mike. Is that I also will try to make sure that when I do the recordings, put in a nice descriptive text for the videos, so that way people like, darn it, my mind is melting. Dan Pancaldi can say, what the hell is this video about that Nangway is popping on? All right, this I thought, ironically, does work for you, Meandering Mike, which I thought you may be interested in. I don't know if it'll be of any use to you, but of other people, is that there are free hexagon templates here that are in PDF mode, and I downloaded them all. You can see them here. They're for sewing and whatnot, but I don't see why you can't start farting around with if you had a Cricut machine or something like that. Hint, 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 is what I'm trying to say. We did oh yes, let's just do this super quickly. Since we are on the National World War I Museum, is there playlists? Oh my goodness gracious me. You guys can't really see this. Hold on here. But I got to make sure that I go back to small mode when we go to after hours. Well, look, I know there's a lot of cross-pollination, and I mean, some videos are going to be in the same ones. But look at this. Look at all this stuff. Just waiting for you. My goodness. That I found interesting. Environment and industry. World War I and the introduction of the fossil fuel era. And all this stuff. Oh boy. Anyways, we got that done. All right. I'm gonna make sure that really. What else? So I show you that. I showed you this. Why in the world do I have this here? But I'm going to pop it in here. You guys can see it. Boink. I can't for the life of me figure out why. Well, I'd love you to see the website. I've got it in the sources and links. But I can't for the life of me understand why, if this was part of like getting some of this special project for the scrapbooking done, or if this was part of Alsace-Lorraine. See, because look at all the digital projects here. Mapping the long road, mapping soldiers' journeys. Yes, it is about scrapbooking. Holy smokes. I downloaded from the Internet Archive this week a 2-volume, 800-page entirety scrapbook from an American soldier. Oh my goodness gracious me. Wow. 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 Yes, Ashley, and you and Greg there, man, I'm so envious of you guys. And you remember Greg even saying that there's no way you guys, like saying that you guys had to go back and do it again for flipping sure, because there's just too much stuff to take a look at. This is a book I would love to snag at some point, but it's too expensive at this moment in time. But I think someone like Corvinus Wargaming would get a massive discount because he's an academic. Look at this book, Colonial Captivity During the First World War. And remember, this was initially mentioned because William Arends brought it up, for goodness sakes, in the ATA a few weeks ago. And I went, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, we never thought about what goes on to what was, what the afters of Togoland and the Cameroons and all that stuff. But this book is certainly on my radar for sure. But I think it says something about if you're an academic, you can get it way cheaper. But I think I can also get this at on Amazon for like $50 or whatever. But I've got a zillion other things to worry about. Oh my God. Okay, we're going to stop this. When we can't stop. I got to get it to there. Okay, I'm going to stop the screen. I'm going to get to me for a second. Then because I want to get to the ATA. That's for bloody sure at the bare minimum. Let's do that because we only got 9 minutes, and then we'll take a look at what else we've got. Oops. All right. Share the screen. Yeah, I will admit, it was nice to have a week off, and I didn't really do anything last week. And I do want to start doing a bit more, like I said, for these special projects, or a little bit more of a focus towards some of the stuff. And the first one I would like to do a gander on is the Alsace-Lorraine. And then later on, once I get some scrapbooking material, to just put that off to the side. And then when I find out like someone like Zoe Dufour, who's into crafting and scrapbooking and whatnot, is here, I'm like, okay, we can do this. And then we've got Marc Fortin, who's got some Quebec roots. I just found out. Remember, he's bayonets to bullets guy that is now starting to become essentially a mud glutton, a regular like us. And then we've got Brian R. Smith also with some Quebec roots and whatnot. So every time I want to see those, we'll put those off to the side and do a little special. You get the idea. It's like this all beautiful little feedback loop as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, here we go. Translator's notes here are war reports, this time for the North German global newspaper, which is also published in Berlin. This week, I mainly was translating 2 longer editorials by the writer and editor Rudolf Lebuy in the Strasburger newspaper that I will send you next week, which you didn't, but that's okay because guess what? You're a monster. These editorials show a different attitude towards the war than regular war reports of more mass market newspapers display. The following translation for the North German Global seems to share the same wire service as the other Berlin newspapers. The Wenzel Telegraphic Bureau, WTB, thus probably contain the same content as is found in those other papers. The North German Global newspaper, Berlin, Sunday, 24th June, 1917, second edition. The situation on the war fronts. The German Evening Report, Berlin, 23rd of June, 1917. With no special events. New U-boat success in the Atlantic Ocean, 28,000 gross registered tons. Known English steamers that have been sunk, included an English auxiliary cruiser that was destroyed in the early morning of the 14th of June, a large armed English steamer and an undesignated English freighter steamer of around 4,500 tons. Do I mention the person? Yes, because odds are you guys will forget. I'm fingers crossed, because I do want to talk about, or no, I'm not going to mention the person's name. And I'll just mention what the person said. So the person, I think, last week in the German, whatever, we're out there, we heard a little bit of rumblings or whatever, even they were saying this week there's a possibility that Bethmann von Bethmann Hollweg may quit, and so on and so, or whatever he's going to. There's somebody, I think, from the socialists, whatever, gets up in the speeches and whatnot, and has got direct proof or something, and basically is showing that the U-boat unrestricted submarine warfare is not working. And he says this out loud. Anyways, and this is going to cause a whole hell of a lot of shit, as you can imagine. The Eastern Theater of War on the front of the mountain range in the Volhynian, the enemy artillery fire has resumed again. The continuous barrages in the area of Brezhazny received powerful return fire from our batteries. Italian and southeastern theaters of war, and boy, are we going to hear about that soon enough, with Caporetto. But that's actually not that far away. There was a low level of combat activity. The chief of the general staff. Oh my God! On a side note, wouldn't it be interesting to find out of? Well, we'll never know. But imagine if the Kerensky offensive had worked. It didn't sputter out and whatnot. I wonder what that would have done for the upcoming, like, would there have been, what with the Bolsheviks and what? Never know. The war on the West Front, Berlin, 23rd of June. Low visibility and rain showers hindered artillery activity on the West Front. The fire was first taken up again as evening approached, and west of Warneton increased over the night. It became more animated. I do love this, though, because it's neat to see, like, I see the same, obviously, but I mean the same towns mentioned in the Allied newspapers. This is nice to see it flipped around now. An assault attempted by the English against the German lines in a reconnaissance thrust failed once again. Then, after the dawn early on the 23rd of June, advancing waves were sent forward that then had to turn back with force after receiving heavy losses from our accurate fire. On the Arras front, the English laid down artillery fire of both average and heavy calibers of the German positions on Hill 70, that hill again, man, east of Los, that continued increasing in strength until 2 a.m. I was told you're supposed to pronounce it like loss, like you've lost something. Southwest of Hullock, after a short artillery exchange, the German patrol advanced into the second English trench. Hold on, let me get some water here. There they effectively resisted the enemy in the positions that they had occupied and later returned to our lines with 11 prisoners. On the line front, the French line slowly crumbled away on the piece of land around the north corner of Chemin des Dames. Because of this, the French hopes have diminished that they could overrun the ground near Ayat, a goal that they had since their attacks began in that area on April 16th. Through the continuous back and forth exchanges of artillery fire, the elevated ground on the mountain slope had been smashed to bits. What was left standing on the trenches and defensive installations there had been swept away by the devastating fire of the German batteries and mortar fire. The irresistible approach of the German assault waves caused an anticipatory action from the occupants of the trenches, which would be what? They got the hell out of there? The German fire was directed alone on the exposed slope. A trail of smoke could be seen emanating from the grenades directed at the heavy wall of the mountain slope. Only a few of the enemy came through uninjured. The greater part of the French occupants died in those trenches and craters. The 300 soldiers who remained alive were captured. Immediately after this, the 3 furious French counter-assaults only increased their heavy losses. Berlin, 23rd of June. In the French press, there's a growing yearning being made for a relief of the French front, noticeably by the Americans. Whoa. The Victoire wrote on the 19th of June, the relief of the French by the Americans and the English as well, which were to take over the greater part of the front, would improve the mood of the French nation. On the same day of the Environnement, referred to how noteworthy that relief of the veteran soldiers would be in raising the psychological mood of the nation. The Bataille wrote simultaneously how this hoped for American relief would assist the French in this business of war. Thank you, William Arends. I'm going to Suze. Anything else we need to talk about? Betrayed ally, China and the Great. Yes, we've got a few minutes. I do want to take a look at some of this. Hold on here. Yes. Hold on here. There is a few. Damn it! There is a few things I want to show you before we split. There we go. What is this? So this is the that book here, Betrayed Ally there, and I started wanting to read a little bit about it because of what's going on in China right now. I was yet again talking about it with Meandering Mike last week about like what's going on in China. Do you know more about it than I do? And it doesn't seem to be, so we're both kind of here. Anyway, so I was going to go off into that. And here's the introduction, which I thought was kind of neat, just a little bit. I had no idea, or didn't they help us with tanks and roads? These are the sorts of responses made by otherwise well-informed friends to the question of how much they know about China in the First World War. The question provokes confessions of ignorance and surprise, and few in the English-speaking world have any idea of China's participation. China was so far away from the Somme that it seems irrelevant, yet one of the first battles of the First World War was fought on Chinese soil. How many know that China joined the Entente Allies in 1917? Well, we do, in the same year as America. How many know that almost 140,000 Chinese served in France as laborers? Well, we do. Well, not maybe the number, but we do know that they are as laborers. It's kind of nice, doing essential maintenance work on roads, trenches, railways, and tanks, and making up for the drastic manpower shortage by working in French factories and fields. Anyways, I know this should be important. At least 5,000, perhaps as many as 10,000 lost their lives, some at sea, most buried thousands of miles from their homes, and honored in war cemeteries in France and Belgium. This is also, I found, blew me away. I don't know what you guys, a further 200,000 served in Russia, of whom many were caught up in the Russian Revolution. Is there anything else I wanted to show you super quickie before we went off into Wonderland? They feel. Did I show you that? Yes, I did. Pretense. We did that. The hand editor. Go on. Yeah. Nope. The hex stuff. No. Maybe that's it. I thought there was. Wait a minute. Where are you then? I don't know where you are, so we're not going to show you. Now, this the only little bit here for the Edith Wharton was this tiny little bit, which kind of where was the? Didn't you guys know? There it is. The Belgian soldiers. The long street was swarming with throngs of dark uniformed Belgian soldiers. Every shop seemed to be doing a little thriving trade, and the hotels looked as full as beehives. And I'm pretty sure that says fighting in France. I just found that really interesting, that that there's Belgians fighting in France. I just thought, that's it. That's it. Okay, let me hold on here and get the after hours show set up here. Sorry, Tolemykus, but you like super duper ultra amazing about this is in that we didn't get to your the spy thing, which I really wanted to do, and we don't get to do option F, which sucks because that was, I love doing that. We'll have to wait for next week. And no, I'm not going to cheat and give Meandering Mike a week or 2 weeks in advance. I don't think it's good because it'll probably screw up his mojo. Most likely, he seems to just nail it anyways every time. So I don't know how the hell you do that, Mike, to be honest with you. So anyways, super great to see you, everyone. And like I said, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll have another amazing little date thing like this, that the first use of mustard gas occurred on a day of our thing. That I find amazing is, holy moly, William Arends, no kidding. Just as you know, with the, when we're eventually hopefully going to get to it, is yeah, the Treaty of Versailles, the way they were treated. No, I just found out this yesterday or this morning, they didn't sign the treaty. And as you can see, it went off into Wonderland. Oh, I love it. As well as you, Ashley. I hope you have a great day, and I hope I get to see you guys tomorrow. Boink, and there you go. Excellent. Bite it, hot pepper, and spew the poisonous spittle at the enemy. Run like hell. Wonder what that would be. Got to come up with some kind of weapon name for that. Whatever. Oh, we could probably do that and start Germanizing or find a Francophone version of it. Anyways, great to see you guys. Hope you have a fantastic well, you have a great 2 weeks, great remainder of your weekend, and that's it. I'm just about to pop on the after hours thingamajig, and I'm going to say yet again, I go off into stupid land again, start trying to be a little too funny or a little too whatever. Just going to have to deal with it. That's the way it goes. But there is some good stuff. Not me, good stuff, but I mean the war summary. There's some good stuff there. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to pop it in here. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, William Arends. Awesome. The flambe thrower. I love it. Nice one. Nice one. Okay. I'm going to get rid of me and get rid of me like as mute my mic. Hold on here. Oops, I went the wrong way. All right, see you later, guys. And I'm turning in a little texture like you people. All right, here we go for live stream 124 after hours, the war summary for July 6th to July 12th, 1917. Two things I'm going to say. One, it's kind of weird missing a week of news for me. And secondly, there are a lot of neato things going on this week anyways, at least I find so. Anyways, here we go. A significant phrase is contained in the Berlin official statement, namely that on the front defended by Field Marshal von Mackensen and Archduke Joseph in Romania, greater local activity was reported. It would appear that the Germans are expecting an attack in that region. This coincides with a special cable dispatch to the Globe published yesterday, in which it was declared that the Romanian army would shortly launch an offensive with a view to preventing the Germans from reaping Romanian crops now ripening, and also to recover the Romanian oil fields, which otherwise will soon be producing for Germany. It has been stated on previous occasions that the Romanian army has been thoroughly re-equipped and provided with an abundance of guns, ammunition, and supplies since its disastrous campaign following the entry of the country into the war. Should the Russian offensive be continued in Galicia, it would be of assistance in the Romanian campaign, and indeed may have been started with the understanding that the latter would coincide. For the moment, the Russian attacks in Galicia have subsided. Petrograd reports that the Teutonic forces have made attacks in the Brezhny sector. These, it is declared, were all beaten off and the foe was compelled to retire. Optimistic messages as to the situation in Russia are still coming. Now, two things. One, remember, we heard about this from Paul Hederer, for goodness sakes, when he was over here during the interview last year, talking about the fact that, at first the Romanians do get whooped pretty badly, but over the winter of 1916-17, they do get re-equipped and do learn their lessons kind of thing, and they do come back. So it'll be interesting to see if it happens. Is that it? I think there's only one thing, but anyways, well, maybe the second thing is to see interesting if it happens. One of them relates to review in Petrograd of a detachment of the Women's Regiment, fully armed and ready for the front, that battalion of death. The British forces made a slight advance southwest of Holebeke, which is southwest of Ypres. A front of 600 yards was covered. There is yet no indication that this is the chosen place for the next great attack. Naval airmen are continuing their extraordinary activity against points in Belgium, using tons of explosives to smash aerodromes, seaplane sheds, docks, railways, trains, and supply dumps. The Prussian Minister of War is quoted as telling the Reichstag committee that he looks for the next British attack north of Arras. Speculation is idle, however, as no one but those who plan it is likely to know where Haig's next blow will be struck. Unless you're Neville, then you tell everyone. In some quarters, it is now believed that for the time being, the British will be the attackers on the West Front, while the French will stay on the defensive. This remains to be seen. In the meantime, it is shown by every new report that comes in that the German attack the other day on the Aisne front was the greatest attack on French positions since the last great battles around Verdun. It was so completely and thoroughly repulsed that the general in command of the defenders was able to watch the proceedings from the frontline trenches, not a yard of which was taken by the enemy, nor did the French lose a single man as prisoner. As prisoner, though, a lot died. The Germans left the ground strewn with their dead. News of this defeat would be reaching Germany about the same time that a sensational debate was in progress in the Saxon parliament, holy smokes is it ever, in which the government was warned that reforms must come, if not from the crown, then from the mob. What the hell's his name? Erzberger. Shit. Matthias Erzberger. A socialist resolution looking to reform was passed. The British have not lost a single gun on the West Front since April 1915. Is an interesting statement made by Major General F.B. Maurice, Director of Military Operations at the War Office. During the war, they have captured 739 guns and lost 133, of which 37 were recaptured. Of the remaining 96 in enemy hands, 84 were lost by the British on the West Front in the early days of the war, when the Germans, in spite of their overwhelming superiority in men and high explosives, found that they could not smash General French's contemptible little army. Exclusive of natives taken in the African campaign, a great many of whom have been released, the British have taken 117,776 prisoners against 51,088, including Indian and native troops lost to the enemy. General Maurice speaks in the highest terms of the excellent effect of the Russian offensive. Yep, not in a couple of weeks. Indications of a move in the Macedonian campaign are apparent. It is officially announced that the Bulgarians sent 2 strong columns against the right wing of the Italian front after long and violent artillery bombardment. The attack was repulsed. The French official report from the Salonika front, which gives the announcement, is laconic. There may be growing, I got to look that word up. There may be going on in this area preparations for a big attack, which, being known to the enemy, are making him nervous. Venizelos, Prime Minister of Greece, seems to have effected a reconciliation of the military forces of the country in an incredibly short time, and it is not improbable that the Greeks will soon take over a very considerable section of the line in Macedonia. It is believed in Washington, according to a dispatch, that Germany is using many submarines with the idea of cutting communication lines to the United States. Some of the U-boats are operating off the Azores, where important relay cable stations are located. This is one of the difficulties that the United States Navy will have to meet during the war. But with the great fleets of submarine chasers coming into operation, it should be successful in this. Good God, there's gaming all over that. Berlin sends out the big war news of the day in the statement that the battle in Galicia has been renewed. The Russians making massed assaults between Zborov and Kunichi or whatever, and at Brzezny. Oh, that sounds like Meandering Mike's going to say something, Konnichiwa or something. I'm just evoking my inner Meandering Mike. Anyways, the Germans say the attacks were repulsed. They made a similar report at the opening of the Russian drive for Lemberg. From the Romanian front comes a report the German troops hoisted white flags and called upon Russian and Romanian troops to fraternize with them. The answer was given by the Russian artillery, which soon put a stop to Hun overtures. The indications still point to an offensive beginning in Romania. However, the flip side, we found out did occur, where there was a lot of Czech troops and the Russians then when they made advances were going, hey, come on over. And a lot of the Czech troops from the Austro-Hungarians supposedly went, yep. Anyways, Russian forces trying to sweep into Mesopotamia from the Persian frontier are meeting with stiff resistance from the Turks. The latter have been considerably reinforced lately and are carrying the battle into part of the Russian line. The area of the fighting in some of 150 miles east of Mosul, one of the big objectives of a combined Russian and British advance, whenever such is again possible. It is not clear now to what extent such a movement may be carried out, since the British advance has been halted on account of the hot weather. Prior to the Russian Revolution, the Russians were making pretty steady progress, they certainly were, on the Caucasian and Persian fronts, and it looked at one time as if the Allied armies would join and sweep forward to put the Turk out of business over a wide area. Dispatches from the British force recently have referred only to patrol activity and the work of the airplanes in the task of harassing the enemy. Emphasis has been placed on the care taken for the health of the troops during July and August, very trying months in Mesopotamia. Just thinking of the Gravel Creek terms and sustainment and the whole 9 yards, and what happens to your troops if they start getting attrition. It's nuts. It is not safe, however, to venture the prediction that there will be no movement of the British for some time, as it is possible that a diversion or a more serious effort might be made with the idea of helping to turn the tide for the Russians. A renewal of activity on the Carso front is reported by Rome, though apparently it was not on a large scale. The Italians are fighting over territory that presents many and terrible difficulties and obstacles, and some considerable time is required to complete preparations for renewed offensives following upon the gains made on the way to Trieste and in the Trentino district as a result of the fighting some weeks ago. On the West Front, there's also a lull insofar as operations on a big scale are concerned. Raids and artillery duels are reported from all the official headquarters. The French are awaiting signs of a renewed attack on the Ain front, where the Germans were crushingly defeated in the great offensive of Tuesday night. Some European critics believe that this attack was undertaken to restore the morale of the German troops, which has suffered through a series of defeats on the West Front. If this is so, the result has been the opposite to that desired, and it would not be surprising if the Germans should give way on this front to a limited extent rather than renew their attacks. In Macedonia, the British line southwest of Doran has been attacked by the Bulgars, who gained a footing in the trenches only to be driven out by an immediate counterattack. With every day that passes, the certainty of considerable Greek forces being added to those already in the ranks of the Allies on this front increases. If the Russian offensive, so auspiciously opened, should be resumed and continued, we may expect to receive war news of magnitude, of every front in Europe. British aviators have been very busy in Macedonia, dropping tons of explosives on enemy defenses. Hold on, I'm going to get a sip of water. And we're back. Stories of rioting in German towns necessitating, good Lord, stern measures by the troops for their suppression are continuing to reach the outside world. Simultaneously, with the opening of the Reichstag, comes a delicate hint from the Imperial Treasury that gold jewelry and gold coin must be handed to the Reichsbank for the country's use. I just want to try this. Necessitating suppression. Necessitating suppression. All right, just wanted to see. No wonder that the president, how about magnanimously necessitating suppression? Oh, wow, I did it. No wonder that the president of the Reichstag regretted that the magnanimous peace terms of the Kaiser had been rejected by the Allies. Ding dong fighting. Good God, did I ever love reading that? I was like, what the hell? I love it. Ding dong fighting is in progress on the Russian front, confined chiefly to the Galician area. It just reminds me of, remember that those Rock'em Sock'em boxers or whatever? I mean, I don't know. Anyways, although some activity is reported on the northern front, Helice, important as the key to Lemberg, the capital of Galicia, and about 60 miles southeast of that city, is now under attack from north and south, while along the Narayuvka River, three armies are hotly engaged on a front of some 30 miles. Petrograd is quite frank in reporting that at some points after the Russians had taken German fortified positions, they were pressed back by the fierce counterattacks of the Teutons. I wonder if this is the first indications the Kerensky offensive is not going so well. Starting to stall. During Friday afternoon and night, 6 fortified positions constantly changed hands. The net result being, however, that the Russians held a fair portion of the terrain overrun and also captured nearly 1,000 prisoners. Belgian armored motor cars, man, amazing, to hear them again. Belgian armored motor cars gave great assistance. Subsequently, the Germans launched attacks on a heavy scale using gas and armored motor cars themselves. But Petrograd says that all these attacks were repulsed. Remember the Belgians had to have come up with some kind of little wrinkle because they're like, oh, we're not allowed to really fight outside of Belgium. I can't remember. It was like some special little, you're the king's special little troops. You can do whatever the hell you want, or I want, kind of thing. Anyways, there's no confirmation of the report of a big attack by the Russians at Pinsk, nearly 200 miles north of the Galician sector of fighting. All that the Russian claim officially there is naval flotillas. I wonder if those are like monitors, destroyed mine barriers on the river. There is, however, a statement from the Teuton war offices that at several points on the Carpathian front, the Russian guns are exceedingly active, and developments may be looking for here in the conjunction with the action by the Romanian forces if the latter are, Pinsk. I'm going to have to go look it up at Pinsk, and they said they were destroying mined barriers. So that means maybe infantry were putting mined barriers on the river. Cool. Got to find out about these things. My God, man. Anyways, ready as recent reports have indicated to take the field. Another German defeat is recorded on the Ain front. Here, the Huns repeated their attacks on the wide area, with apparently as much aggressiveness as was displayed in the disastrous battle of last week. They were apparently determined to recapture the important positions on the Chemin des Dames, which will account for much in future developments on the front. Not only were all the attacks crushed with very heavy losses to the foe, but the French forces in the Meuse area around Verdun made a series of brilliant attacks by means of which they flattened out 3 important salients at comparatively small cost and held the gains against all attempts at recapture. The German Crown Prince is not to be allowed to come so near to the taking of Verdun as he was in his last great attack. The men who turned him back then are quite capable of frustrating his plans now. French official reports record reprisal air raids. Interesting to hear. Carried out by 84 machines. Did they go for civilian targets? Let's find out. On a number of places in the interior of Germany, including the Krupp factories at Essen. Of the French squadron, all but 2 returned on safety after dropping an immense number of bombs on the places attacked. And in almost every instance, observing that fires were started and explosions caused. It is not unlikely that the demand in Britain for reprisals following upon Saturday's raid over London will be renewed with a vigor and persistency which will give the government a great deal of trouble. Holy smokes, is there ever a lot of chit-chat going on there too, eh? Tug of war about the planes too, and Haig saying, no, they're staying on the Western Front, man, we need them there. Other people saying, no, we need them to protect the civilians. So cool stuff. It is not clear from the report of the Admiralty and the War Office that more than one of the raiders was brought down. The 3 Hun planes that were driven into the sea by British naval aviators may have belonged to other squadrons. There was considerable loss of life and many people were injured by the air raid over London. On the heels of the reports regarding this came official announcements from the British Western Front of greater aerial activity by the Germans than has been attempted for some time. In one instance, a squadron of 30 airplanes was encountered. The Germans probably have greatly strengthened their air fleets and are making a bid to regain the supremacy in this arm. Not only did the British squadron succeed in looking after the attackers, but they carried out a tremendous amount of bombing on German positions behind the fighting lines and cleaned the coast. The British also report a small advance in the Messines area. It looks as though General Haig had almost completed his arrangements for another smashing attack on some part of the German line. To the reports from Germany of rioting over food shortage is added a story from Vienna that similar demonstrations are taking place in the Moravian coal fields for the same reason. Vienna and Berlin reluctantly joined with Petrograd in announcing a Russian victory of considerable importance. This time the blow was struck in the direction of Dolina, 35 miles west of Stanislav, from which place there is a line following the foothills to Przemyśl, a great Austrian fortress which was captured by the Russians in 1915 and lost in the Great Drive, by which the Teutonic forces 4 months afterwards tried to clear all of Galicia of the Russians, a task in which they failed. For the moment, however, Przemyśl is beyond the range of the immediate campaign. Lemberg, the capital of Galicia, is the prime objective of the present movement. The Russian victory was won on a front of about 8 miles, which was probably greatly widened when the enemy retreated, and was carried to a depth of about 15 miles by the Muscovite cavalry, which reached the Lukva River in pursuit of the retreating foe. In the action, which took place on Sunday, several towns and villages were captured, with 131 officers, 7,000 men, and 48 guns, 12 of them of heavy caliber. No army abandons heavy guns these days unless it is in a hurry to get away. That would make sense. A Berlin supplementary report last night indicated that the Russians had resumed their attacks, though Berlin adds, as usual, that they were checked. The Russians on this front seem to be aiming to crumple up the foe line at 3 points: Zlotov, Brezazny, and Halis. The former places are believed to be surrounded on 3 sides. Brezazny is in a naturally strong situation for the defense of the crossing of the Zlotolipa River. We heard a lot about that last year, holy smokes, and commands much of the country to the south, probably because of the Brusilov offensive, as well as excellent roads and part of the railroad from Halis. Halis on the Dniester River is an important point. 2 railroads and a main highway run from it to Lemberg, while Zlotov, the most northerly of the 3, is also the junction of 2 good roads to Lemberg. With these points taken or isolated, the Russian forces will be able to link up on a pretty wide front and advance toward their immediate goal. In the area of the last success, the Lomnitsa River is an obstacle that they must cross, and no doubt the swift advance of their cavalry had this in view more than anything else. The map accompanying the summary today shows the Berzazny and Halis, while the arrow points to the Stanislaw region where Sunday's success was gained. Zlotov is not shown on the map, but would be on the black line and above Tarnopol. The statement made by Major General Hugh Scott of the United States Commission after a visit to the Russian front, where he witnessed to the launching of the new offensive, will greatly hearten the Allied peoples. He declares that the successes already won are bound to continue, and he speaks enthusiastically of the precision and exquisite working of the Russian artillery. I wonder if, I'm going to pause for a split second. Why the hell not? All right, I just wanted to try this out and see if this worked. Why the hell not? So let's take a look at the Dervaux Creek map a little bit and take a look. And here's Lemberg. Remember, each hex is 20 kilometers, just to kind of give you a little bit of whatever, and then we'll go back to what they're talking about. But certainly all the scale of that map from the Globe newspaper is a lot, shows a lot more area. I should say a lot less area than this does, because my goodness, you can't see Halis or anything like that. But there's Stanislaw and Lemberg, and there's Shemish way over there, and there's Cernovitz. And I just thought, why not? Hold on, I'm going to hit the pause button and go back to the other thing. And there we go. Here we are. We're back again. Okay, hold on here. I got to get to this bit. There's been some desperate fighting on the French front. Here the Germans claim success on a 2-mile area on the Chemin des Dames, claiming to have held the positions against 5 enemy attacks. At the same time, they announced that storming detachments created a diversion on the Lyon-Soissons road, returning to their own trenches and later repulsing furious counterattacks. In this fighting, the Germans claim to have taken 800 prisoners. It is not clear whether this report precedes or antedates a French report in which it is claimed that the enemy was rejected from a front of about 1,500 yards or more, which he had gained on the previous night. Antedates. I don't think I've ever seen that word before. Cool. In this action, which the French term a brilliant success, they used 12 battalions of fresh troops whose attitude in the course of the action is worthy of praise. Shock troops, pioneers, and flamethrowers were used by the French. Oh, I thought it was by the Germans. I'm going to have to put this in, change that up in the fact checker. There will be some curiosity to know whether these fresh troops are of the new classes recently called the colors, or men who have reached the French front from another sphere of action. A Russian retirement near the border between Persia and Mesopotamia is announced from Petrograd and doesn't sound like good news. It would appear that the Russians were not in strong enough force to hold some of the ground recently gained by them. And for the present, the British in Mesopotamia are doubtless held practically inactive by trying weather conditions so that they could not create a diversion. An announcement that the Entente Allies, this is monster, that the Entente Allies will hold a conference in Paris for the consideration of questions of military and political importance in connection with the Balkans gives rise to many speculations. Oh, I'd love to be a fly there on the wall there. And we probably can, because there's probably a bazillion historical documents about this. Russia, it is said, have asked for a conference, having deprecated the recent developments in Greece and urged that there should be no interference with the internal affairs of that country. There has also been for a long time divergence of opinion as to the advisability of, I love this, of continuing the Macedonian campaign. Many experts having held that the Allied forces could be much better used elsewhere. What a question. Holy F, they could have if they had just moved them to, oh my God. Owing to, I'm just thinking, you imagine if they had done that, owing to the great difficulty of conveying to them a sufficiently of high explosives and other necessaries for big actions. It has been argued that with Greece coming into the field, the bulk of the Allied forces could be removed from this sphere. On the other hand, the view has been expressed that much more energetic action is possible in Macedonia and would bring good results. Oh my gosh, the what ifs. The air raid over London on Saturday has been followed by bitter criticism of the defense system of Britain's capital, and it is probable that there will be a big shakeup as a result. The matter was discussed in secret session by the House of Commons, and no doubt a statement as to the decision reached will soon be made public. But trust me, that discussion was made in not so secret session in bazillion pubs and Lord knows where else's, man. Oh my God, oh yeah, this is the close-up of the map. Let's see if we can do this a little bit. Hold on here. Yeah, it was a bit silly, wasn't it, that last little comment, but oh well. Hey, I'm not perfect. That still sucks. All right, we'll go back to the old one. Here we go. Boink. The Russians, in their tremendous drive on Lemberg, were reported by reliable news agency early this morning to have taken Helis, the key to Galicia's capital. This is a brilliant and swift culmination to an offensive only 10 days old. The latest official reports from Petrograd showed that the Russians were making great progress in their efforts to isolate Helis. Since the events reviewed in the war summary of yesterday, a considerable advance has been made in the region west of Stanislav, and 7 enemy guns and over 1,000 prisoners were taken, and the advance pushed forward some 7 or 8 miles. The cavalry indeed have pressed on for a distance of 16 miles. The Russian armies under the immediate command of General Kornilov have broken the Austro-German front along an area of 20 miles altogether between Helis and the Carpathians, and the Helis bridgehead is now menaced. From the 2nd of July to the 8th, inclusive, Petrograd states that Kornilov has taken 14,000 prisoners and 55 guns, 12 of the latter being of heavy caliber. The fighting is desperate at points, several villages being taken only after bayonet fighting in. Holy cow, we've talked about this general before. What a freak. Anyways, the streets, the conduct and daring of our troops are above praise, says the report. Monster. Just, man, what a story. Anyways, Berlin adds to the story, ironically, just that they use the word story. Berlin adds to the story of the Russian advance 2 interesting, important statements. One is that the enemy forces have been compelled to withdraw across the Lemnitsa River, one of the strong obstacles to the Russian advance. The other is that near Riga, Vinsk, and Smorgon, on the northern end of the long Russian front, fighting between the Germans and the Russians has increased. The Russians may be planning an attack. Hold on. To be noted that they are constantly changing their point of attack while keeping Lemberg, the chief immediate objective, in view, and that every attack has so far been attended with success, though occasionally brought to a standstill by the bringing up of strong Teutonic reserves. Hold on, I got to take a drink. And we're back. General Kornilov, who's in, I think they talk about him here, who's in immediate command of the victorious armies, is fighting on the familiar ground, while at the head of the 48th Russian Division, he was captured by the Austro-Germans in Galicia. Remember in the water? Remember he was on that little boat in May 1915, like Charles Latora was totally enthralled, but escaped from the prison camp in which he was held in Austria and reached Bucharest. He had a month of adventures after his escape from the prison camp, and during his trip across Hungary, in a forest, he was halted by Hungarian gendarmes who killed one of his companions, also an escaping prisoner. Kornilov got away, however, and reached Romania. He returned to Petrograd and was commander of the garrison until May 13th, 1917, when he resigned during the political crisis. While in that office, and while the Russian armies were fraternizing, he repeatedly warned the authorities of a coming German onslaught. On the Rhine front, the Germans have indulged in another strong and fruitless attack. There is much speculation as to the reason for the foe's persistency in this area, the most generally accepted being that the Germans are combining an attempt to win back strong crest positions lost to the French, with the desire to stop the development of a great French attack in conjunction with one by General Haig's forces and synchronizing with the Russian advance. On the British front, no events of great importance are reported. It is reported that the enemy artillery has displayed intense activity on the Belgian coastline and that the British artillery is making a vigorous reply. There was a slight advance by the British 1 mile northeast of Wyszeit. The Italians, oh, damn it, didn't I look this up, this one a few weeks ago, and I was able to say it. Wyszeit, I think. The Italians in their report announced the failure of an attack by the Austrians following a very heavy bombardment. There's no news of active fighting from any other front. Somewhat over 2,200,000 fighting men are maintained by Britain on the French front. Holy shoot. This great total is exclusive of the Empire's strength in all other fields, such as Macedonia. So therefore, they could have been brought up and topped up and maybe just tilted it in your favor. Egypt, Palestine, and Africa. In giving these and other interesting details in an address in New York yesterday, Lord Northcliffe declared that the word maintain meant that this huge body of men has kept up the fighting strength, the terrific drain of killed, wounded, and sick being constantly replaced. The summary of his address, given in this issue of the Globe, will repay a reading. I didn't read it. It gives a very good idea of the tremendous burden that the motherland is having in keeping her own forces in the field and up to the mark, as well as giving in wonderful aid to the Allies. A German success on the Belgian coastline, admitted by the British, is a reminder that the enemy is a long way from being defeated and is still capable of striking hard blows. The foe penetrated a section of the coast trenches in the dunes area to an extent of 1,400 yards by a depth of 600, reaching the mouth of the Yasser River near the sea. Farther south, after gaining some of the British advanced positions, the enemy was driven out. Berlin says that more than 1,250 men and 27 officers were captured. This may be found to be approximately correct, as General Haig, in reporting the fighting, says that the destruction of the bridges across the Yasser isolated the ground over which the fighting took place. It would therefore be impossible for the British to retire or to receive reinforcements. The British night report stated that the enemy artillery activity on the coast had diminished. The French report dealing with the Belgian front says that the Germans continue to bombard Fournes and that artillery firing continues on the whole front. It had been anticipated that the British would soon launch a big attack in the coast area, and undoubtedly preparations were being made to that end. The German attack seems to have been an attempt to forestall the British. It is not unlikely that the Allied fleets will give assistance in attempts to recover the lost ground. It is important that the enemy should not be allowed to gain anything on the sea coast. Well, you gave it to them on 1914. From what I heard from reports, you guys could have stopped them, but you didn't. At this distance and in the absence of detailed accounts of the fighting, looks as though the British in this area had been taken somewhat by surprise. The Germans boast that their aerial service was of great assistance in the fight. General Haig last night reported that the foe slightly advanced in the region of Monchy-le-Preux, which, remember, if you're playing forget it, I'm just doing it again. But if you're playing the SPI non-historical setup and you're the Allies, you move first, invade Belgium. Police, the key to Lemberg, is in the hands of the Russians, who captured their 2,000 prisoners and 30 guns. What is more important is that the Russians have already crossed the Lamitsa River, which was the best remaining natural defensive position for the capital of Galicia. Vienna and Berlin both admit that the defeat of their forces on this front, the Austrians in particular, speak of increasing pressure of enemy masses. They add, as though, I was looking at the map, they add as though it was something to be extremely thankful for, and no doubt it is for a retreating army the enemy did not pursue during the night. The Russian front is gradually widening. There are evidences that they are not only after Lemberg, but also hope to bag a very considerable portion of some of the armies opposing them. A German army is already reported to have been separated from an Austrian corps as the result of the fall of Elise. And as the Russians appear to be constantly gaining strength and to be excellently supplied with all essentials to push their offensive, they may make a great haul from one of these armies. It is also possible that the foe may strike unexpectedly at some point of the Russian line, but for the present, all the odds are in favor of the comparatively early siege of Lemberg, if it is decided to again defend the place. The offensive which attained such a considerable measure of success in 1916 not only had Lemberg in view, but aimed at points farther north, including Kovel. Although the Russians won some striking victories, they fell short of the great success they hoped to attain. Where's this? Well, what the hell? Why are they showing that picture with that article? Look, you can see that it's Nieuwepoort's right over there. Weird. But anyways, that's the Belgian coast, isn't it? Anyways, let's go down and find out. British merchant ship losses from submarines are down again. 14 vessels of more than 1,600 tons, 3 of less than 1,600, there's the last page, and 7 fishing vessels were sent to the bottom. This equals the previous low record announced on March 11th, showing a similar number of vessels sunk, excluding fishing boats, as there could be no reason to credit German submarines with being on the lookout during the latter period for the United States transports. It may be taken for granted that the increasing efficiency of the anti-submarine campaign is having some effect. An extraordinary feat of British aviators is reported by the Admiralty in the bombing of Turkish and German warships in the Golden Horn off Constantinople. This I found interesting. And you'll see. And the bombing also of the Turkish War Office and other military objectives. The airmen picked out their targets with deliberation, dropping to 800 feet to attack the vessels, which included this is what I found cool, which included a converted liner used as the headquarters of the German staff controlling the Turkish forces. Big explosions took place on all the vessels hit, and several fires were observed. Direct hits were also obtained on the War Office and other buildings, the airmen coming down to a height of 300 yards and spending in all a half an hour over the city. Holy smokes. Wonder if they hit any civilian targets. The attack was a complete surprise, and none of the airplanes were fired upon until the bombs had been dropped. All the aviators returned in safety. But of course, it probably didn't really matter because they're Turks. On the Italian front, sorry, that was really bad of me, but what do you want from me? This is after hours, and I'm being an idiot. I'm apologize. I will apologize. I'm sorry. On the Italian front, there are many signs of big events in the Carso sector, but I'm not redoing this video. I can tell you that much. And like, I'm not going, well, I was such an idiot, I'll redo this. Tough. I'm not. If I get a 4,000 thumbs down, I get 4,000 thumbs down. Well, I'll say if no one watches for it. You get the idea, but you know what I mean. And the Carso sector. Good Lord, thank God it's the last page and second last paragraph. Near the Italian, so they can shut me up. It has been occupied and fortified, and there's been very likely skirmishing along the whole of this front, as well as in the Trentino, the Austrians showing considerable activity. It is not improbable that the Austrians will find it necessary to weaken both these fronts with a view to lending assistance to their forces in Galicia, and a renewal of the Italian offensive may therefore be expected. On the French front, there are no developments of great consequence. From East Africa comes the announcements that the British have carried out a successful converging movement against the remnants of the German forces, and that steady progress has been made. Major Murat, an oft-quoted German military expert in discussing whether the moment has arrived for a great offensive by Germany, concludes that for the present, such is inadvisable. It is doubtful, he declares, whether the necessary numerical superiority can be given to the high commands on any one of the fronts to push such an attempt through to a real success. Murat thus indirectly confirms the repeated statements from neutrals and allied commentators alike that the decline of German manpower is serious. Germany, at last, has been thrown on the defensive, despite occasional attacks such as those on the Iron Front and on the coast region of Belgium. Piece of war news that should be read in this light of this German military critic statement is the report crediting that the German food controller with the announcement that the fruit and vegetable harvest is far below the average and that grain production is as good as in 1915, which was not a good year. Oh, I'm so sorry for being a little jackass, but maybe I'll be better next week. No, in 2 weeks from now, because we're on summer, whatever. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a good remainder of your weekend and see you in 2 weeks, I hope, for live stream 125. All righty. Done and dusted.